This is Looking for Atlantis. My mom likes to tease me because this is one of my most realistic books. It is not fantastical at all, and yet she said the title makes it sound like it is fantastical. It is a metaphorical title, but this is my late 1930s one. My son really wanted me to read this, so here we are. But this is, set up for this is, we have Charlotte is my protagonist. She has decided at the beginning of the summer that she is going to win the affections of her childhood crush, Gerald, with the help of her best friend, Tommy. And Tommy has set up a picnic to help them spend time together, and this is just a silly conversation. This is really just to show a very different flavor. The other things I've read have been a little more serious, I guess. This is just a silly conversation at the beginning of this picnic. I was grateful to Tommy for arranging the event and seeing to it that the partridges were there. I had been worried that he would forget and exclude them, as they didn't have anything to do with his pursuit of Lillian or my pursuit of Gerald. But I was nevertheless worried that the afternoon would be something of a repeat of the party a few nights prior. Tommy too captivated by Lillian to notice anything else, Audrey monopolizing Gerald, and yours truly trapped in tedious conversation with Morris. I became even more concerned over this eventuality when, as we were walking through the trees, Morris worked his way up beside me. "Shall I?" he began, but didn't finish. "Shall I carry that basket for you, Miss Helwick?" he politely asked. "That's very kind of you, Mr. Partridge." "Morris," I corrected, "but I can manage." "Please," he said sternly. It felt like a command, and I handed over my basket. "That's very kind of you," I said again. "Picnics are very fine, aren't they?" said Morris. "I love them," I smiled. "I don't." "Oh," I blinked. "All of the bugs and sitting on the ground and all," said he, "and the wind, and one never knows if it will suddenly rain, but people do seem to think they're very fine." "Indeed." "Why do you like them?" he inquired. "Oh, well," I faltered, somewhat perplexed by the exchange. "Some of the very things you've mentioned, I'm afraid. The wind in one's hair, getting caught in the rain, the fresh air, and the informality of lazing about on the ground, though I do agree with you about the bugs." I'd hoped that this last comment would elicit a small smile at least, but he only nodded in somber approval. "I believe that sitting on the ground in such a way as one does for a picnic causes damage to the skeletal system if practiced often," continued Morris. "Does it?" "That is what I have read." "What is it that persuaded you to join us then?" I questioned, "at such risk to your skeletal system?" "Well, I really never do it, you see, so I didn't see how it could cause too much trouble, and the girls so wanted me to come. But you ought to take care, Charlotte." I didn't dare tell him that even when I was at home with loads of chairs and sofas all around me, I could often be found lounging on the floor. "I do hope you're not often sitting on the ground," he carried on with the theme. "And one shouldn't spend too much of their time out of doors. Fresh air is pleasant for a few minutes here and there, but one should really be careful not to get too much of it. It throws off the balance of one's bodily functions. And no doubt you already know the dangers of too much sunlight." I was beginning to entertain dreary imaginings of being stuck receiving lectures from Morris all day while the others enjoyed themselves, when suddenly Gerald appeared beside us. "Do you know, I've actually read quite the opposite," said he. Morris started a little at the insertion into his address. The path was wide enough for the three of us to walk side by side there, and Gerald took advantage of that fact to capture Morris's attention. "I've read that sitting on the ground is actually quite excellent for one's health," Gerald said, "building muscles that would otherwise be neglected." Morris did not know what to do with this new information. "Same with fresh air," continued Gerald, "not about its building muscles, but about its being really exceptionally healthy." Morris continued to mutely stare. "But isn't that the way with scientists and doctors?" Gerald added amiably. "The minute one of them says a thing is good for you, another one says it's the worst thing you could possibly do." "I quite disagree with you." Morris, recovering himself, was notably austere. "Science is of the utmost importance. One must never take it lightly." "I said nothing against science, my good man," answered Gerald, "only against scientists."